Good morning, fret friends. We find ourselves this cold November morning hurtling towards Christmas, especially now Halloween has gone. Have you noticed on the TV and all this and on all your social media, as soon as Halloween's gone, which I hate by the way, everything's Christmas. I don't get it. But anyway, let us get back to the topic in question. Guitars here at Fret Friend Guitar Workshop, and we have a lovely instrument on the bench today. Again, another new client. Bought this guitar in last night. I believe we are Friday the 5th of November, year of our Lord 2021. He bought this guitar into me last night. Got a few problems with it. It's not an old guitar. I believe it's a 2014, but I cannot corroborate that because it's a Gibson. It's a piece of beauty. It's a 335, and it has, I'm normally good with serial numbers, but not these. A 5-digit serial number, so I'll have to do a little bit of research on that. But anyway, he's bought it in. He says it plays like a pig. He's altered a couple of things. He's carved into the nut and what have you, and he's not sure if he likes the saddles or not. Now this has a nylon nut and nylon saddles. It just happens that I am due to take delivery of some Graphtec saddles today, in fact, so I may consider swapping those out. But he certainly wants that nut removing. Now the problem with removing a nut like this is they don't just sit on a shelf and you can tap them out. Oh no, they sit inside a slot, and I will show you what I mean. If you look closely at where the nut sits inside this slot here, the nut goes down into a trough, a rectangular trough, and the paint is over the nut. So we're going to have to cut round that, and we're going to have to carefully remove this, because if we bang it out we could take a chunk of wood out or what have you, and that would not be good. It's an expensive guitar. Again, these nylon, I don't know if I'm keeping these nylon saddles on there. He said, when we were talking last night, I said, look, it just happens that I have some Graphtec saddles coming in tomorrow for this bridge, and I'm not going to need them. I thought I was going to need them. I was going to actually return them. I said, so we can look at that a little bit down the line. He certainly wants to go for a bone nut. He told me that last night, so we are going to do that. He also said, if you think it needs a refret, refret it. I says, no, that's a bit drastic. I've looked at the frets, there's no way, you don't need a refret on these. It might be soft fret wire. I says, but if you're going to get 5-10 more years out of these frets, why refret the guitar? We'll look at the level of the frets and see where we are. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug it in a minute, and I'm going to listen to it, see if the pots are scratching or not. I'm going to play it as it is. I do know it needs a new nut. He says he cut the slots a bit too deep, which he has done, so he's getting a bit of buzz. The neck is a little bit straight for me, so we'd like a little bit of relief in there. The saddles all seem very moved forwards, so I'll check the intonation anyway, but we are going to oink the strings off. I'm going to check the frets also. So two things we are definitely doing is, one, we are removing the nut, replacing it with a bone nut. Two, we are setting it up. Three, I'll be checking the electrics of the frets. He says whatever it needs, do it. Don't worry about what it's going to cost, blah 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 blah. He also, he did say, if it needs a refret it. I says it doesn't need a refret, so we're fine there. Like I say, even if these are soft fret wise, even if it's 12% nickel silver, you've still got years left in these frets. I've looked at the height of them, and yeah, absolutely fine. We do have a nice rosewood, I would believe, it looks like rosewood, it looks like Indian rosewood fingerboard. Rectangle inlays, cut very nicely, fitted very nicely. No big, sometimes you see a big gap with a bit of black filler in there, don't you? But these now, they're fitted really, really nicely. So a nice guitar, not my cup of tea, not something I would play or buy, but that does not say that it is not a great guitar. These are fabulous guitars. I'm having more and more of them in of late, Epiphones and Gibsons. I must say the Gibsons do stand out to be a lot better than the Epiphones, but they're going to be, aren't they? Not that Epiphones make crap guitars, they don't make good guitars, but they are a budget conscious brand. They are factory made. These are a little bit more better spec. Again, are these like a Heritage or maybe a Gretsch? You know, I don't know, I'm not going to compare them anyway, but in their own rights, these are very, very nice guitars. This is certainly a lot heavier than the Epiphone version. I am a big fan, as you all well know, of heavy guitars, and I don't mean heavy as in musical genre, I mean heavy as in weight. Now, I'm quite a bulky chap myself, but all my guitars, bar my Explorer, do have considerable weight to them. I like to feel I've got something on my shoulder and around my neck when I'm playing it, and pretty, you know, I'm pretty much an aggressive player, so I do like to have a bit of an aggressive guitar. Not that I cannot play subtly. I do have my subtle, soft moments. So yeah, but that's where we are. We are going to look at the guitar. I will come back and let you know my findings once I've had it plugged in, I've had a little play and a tinker. Okay, I've had the guitar plugged in and played it. It plays really, really nicely. Got a beautiful sound. My preferred sound on these guitars, for whatever reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's my setup, but I like it in the middle. Both pickups on. Everything on full. I was plugged into my fabulous PV Classic 13 all valve amp. One of the best tweed amps I have ever played in my life. I've owned a few. I nearly went and bought a Romany for a lot of money, and I thought, you know what, I saw one of these come up and I thought I'd give it a go, and it's blown me away. So I'm glad I saved the money I was going to spend on a Cornell Romany. I just wanted a nice clean valve amp with enough grit if I want it, and that PV Classic 30 is it. Mine is an American made one. It is a superb piece of kit, and if you've not heard one, demo one, then buy one. But anyway, back to the guitar. So a couple of strings are cut too low on the nut, so we're getting fret buzz there. There's no surprise. The neck is a little bit straighter than I would like it. The intonation was out everywhere, bar on the bass E string. I've moved all of the saddles away or toward the body, about end of the body, away from the neck by a good 2 or 3 turns. So the intonation is now set fine. I'm going to recommend we swap these nylon saddles because they are bent in from the weight of the strings. I don't know why they're on there. They're not fit for purpose as far as I am concerned. Just not for me. I'm going to recommend we swap them out. I do have quite a few saddles knocking about I could use. ABR type. So we do have some steel in stock, and I'm having some Graphtec ones. I'm going to recommend we go with Graphtec. The nylon nut is going, definitely. So what we're going to do on camera right here, right now is, listen to that. Once you're away from the nut end, the guitar plays beautifully. But what we're going to do is we are going to check the frets. So what we're going to do first is we're going to loosen these strings and bin them. I've seen that these are put on the classic Martin way with one wrap around against itself, so 2 wraps, but it's locked against itself. Not my preferred method, but I understand why people do like it. I actually like wraps round post me. That one's just snapped, which is fine. I like to see wraps around post. It's the way I always put strings on, and I'm going to do it on this guitar. I'm not these ones for wrapping it against itself and trapping it under itself, because if it's going to snap in one place, it's going to snap right on the post, which they do, but it's just not me. So loosen these enough just to be able to get a cutter on there, so you can get it done without a cutter. We're going to remove the truss rod cover as well on camera. This is just the appraisal video, this is for the client. Well, let's see where we are. These are going in the bin. I used to save old strings, if I need to do a mock setup and I don't want to use a brand new set of strings, I used to save the good ones. I still have a load of good old strings in various places in this workshop. I need to sort them out because I have far too many. Wrong road. Wrong way, kid. Sort yourself out. Oh, that's some right post there. So let's whiz this off. We're going to have to pull all these through. Be surprised if we can, because they're tangled at this end. Oh, there you go, we've got them. We've got the hecking lot. Now, there are recycling places for strings. I need to find out about that instead of just binning them all the time, but these I'm going to bin them today. Get them in bin. What we're going to do is, on camera, we're going to go across with fret rock and we're going to check these frets. I've no reason to believe we should have any high frets. I didn't play the guitar sufficiently enough to notice any buzzing anywhere. This bridge comes, that is where the saddles are. What I don't like about these saddles, well, maybe they're meant to be like that, they are meant to be that shape by the looks of it. I'm going to talk to the client and see what he thinks. Oh, there you go, we've just fell out anyway. I'm going to see what he thinks regarding these saddles. So I'm going to reset those again. Saddles just all fell out and I'm missing one. I'll find that in a short while. We don't have to swap them out. Just I think they're a little bit, it would not be my choice anyway. So back to where we are. Let's get the truss rod cover off. There's no spring clip holding those saddles in, which is a surprise. So they are held in just by the string. Again, I'd like to see a spring clip on there holding them down, so that doesn't happen when you drop it on the floor like I've just done. All the saddles drop out. I'm missing one saddle, but anyway. Regarding the nut, I don't think it's going to move just by me tapping it. I'm going to just give it a couple of taps just see if it loosens it. Because it may loosen it enough to knock it out. No, it hasn't. And that's not surprising, that's absolutely fine. We're going to have to cut that out, cut around the paint. So let's check where we are with the neck with the strings off. We should be more or less straight. I always like to see a straight neck once the strings off. Right, we do have some back bow in there, meaning back bow is a rainbow, whereas that's relief or forward bow. Back bow is like a rainbow. So we're slightly high in the middle, low at each side. That's okay, that's fine. I do like to see a perfectly straight neck when I've got the strings off. But the thing is with this, that neck was dead straight. I don't have my Gibson one in there, so where's that hecking thing gone? That's it. I like to see a neck dead straight once the strings are off, and that's how this should be. So what we're going to do is, oh my goodness, that is bigger than it ought to be. Ah, no, it isn't. It's fine. It's just a snug fit. So we're going to loosen the truss rod. There's a little bit of paint on that truss nut. Again, I'm one for dropping things this morning, or for things slipping out of my hand. Right, that is a truss nut loose. Now look at that. There's paint there. You can see that. That should have been scraped off. That should not be there. That's happened in the paint shop, and that's shoddy by Gibson. Again, quality control. I see a lot of this at Gibson. I see a lot of it, a lot of it at Heritage as well. So it's not just Gibson. I work for a guy, I'm in-house guitar tech for an importer. I'm going to say who he is. Most of you know what I'm talking about anyway if you're watching this. But he is an importer of Heritage guitars. He was Heritage Guitars' main dealer in Europe. And I used to work on all those Heritages that came straight out of Kalamazoo. And not that they were badly built, because they don't build bad guitars, but some of them needed quite a lot of fretwork before they went up for sale. And something's not right about that. So let's have a look, see if we're fitting on better now. There you go, we're fitting on a lot better now. So that's a truss rod, totally loose. Just prattling on. I do tend to prattle. Right, okay, so we've got a ton of relief in there now. That's smiley shaped bend in the neck, which we like, but I like to see a guitar neck dead straight with the strings off. I'm just going to give that a little turn. Okay, we're getting there, but we're a long way off straight. So, nipped up, give it a quarter or an eighth turn there. We're getting very close to where we need to be. We've got a tiny little bit of relief still in there. I hate that. Should always remember to take that off. Okay, my friends, that neck is slightly over now. We've got a little bit of back bow in there. I'm just going to drop it back. And I think we are just about dead straight in this position here. Let me have a look. Okay, we're right down at each end. Tiny bit of relief still. Minor adjustments. Make big changes. So we're going to go from there to there. That is it. And that should be the neck straight. And we now have a straight neck. We do have a tiny little bit of relief just here, but that is normal. That's not normal. Necks are never perfectly straight. You always get a bit of undulation up and down. You always go for the best average. So we're now going to get a fret rocker and we're going to check these frets. You don't know what a fret rocker is? It's a four-sided piece of metal with perfectly laser cut and ground straight edges, 4 different lengths. The reason we have 4 lengths is we need to check 3 frets at a time. So to enable us to do that, as we go further along the neck, we need to turn it over, and so we can always do 3 frets. And the reason we do 3 is if one is high anywhere, we will hear it rock. Like I say, this is precision straight. This is made by my friend Harris in Greece, GMI tools. Only available on eBay. I don't know if they're still making these tools, but a lot of my precision tools are from GMI. But anyway, we'll check the frets, see how they are. There's one high one. Anything 5 or below, you can do in an intensive setup. 2, same fret, that's 3, in pretty good shape, 4, yep, all the way across that one, so that's 4, that's 5, so we're looking at 6 so far, 7, still the 7th, 8, so we are going for a full fret level. We have 8 rocking frets, 9, so we've got 9 high frets, so I am going with, I'm not even recommending, I'm going with a complete fret level. We're going to skim across the top of all of the frets. We need to do that. We need to remove the nut with the neck dead straight. We're going to skim the whole lot. We're going to remove hardly any material at all, but we are going to get them all perfectly level. Once they're perfectly level, the tops will be flat. We need to recrown, then we need to polish. So I'm going with a full fret level, which in itself is £125. No problem there. We're putting on a new bone nut. Now, I charge £65 for a new bone nut. You may think that's expensive, and some people always say that seems a bit expensive. It's not expensive when you consider I've got to cut round the paint, I've got to remove this without damaging the guitar. Don't forget this is sat in a trough, in a rectangular trough. That shape, the bottom of there is where the nut sits, and it's built up on the side, so we've got to dig it out, we've got to cut a new bone nut, we've got to shape it and get it in there, and then get it shaped, cut and polished. So you're already looking, we're up to £190, £5 for a set of strings, £195. That is going to be my guesstimate. It doesn't need any electrical work. I've already checked the electrics here fine, no scratchy pots or anything. It will be getting cleaned as they always are. So that is where we are with this guitar. Complete fret level, complete setup, new set of strings, This guitar will be an absolute blinder once it's done. I'm going to send this recommendation or my appraisal video off to the owner. And I know he's going to agree with what I say. He's going to say, yep, that's absolutely fine. Crack on. Update on the 335. I've talked to the client and he does want to change out the nylon saddles. We have to sort of tape them in because there's no spring holding these in. And we are going to replace them with these rather snazzy Graphtec String Saver saddles. There you go. These retail around about 35 quid. Just arrived today, so they're going to go in there. Something else as well. When I looked in the drawer in the guitar case, you got the Gibson certificate of authentication in there, and the gubbins. The gold warranty gubbins in there. Still doesn't say the year. I've not checked, but I have no reason to believe it is not a 2014. So we're just going to stick these. I like this case. It's got it just sticks there. It holds. That's really good. So I'm going to stick all these gubbins back in here. Just hold you there. Hold that there. See if these fit inside, which they almost do. Then we're going to cram everything in there. No, it's not going to fit. I'll tell you what, the String Saver saddles, I'm putting it that way once everything else is in, and now everything should fit in there. And there you go. We're going to put this away for a few days. I'm not going to work on it today. I've got two others to work on today. I've got a Les Paul to finish, and I do have a dirty heavy metal guitar, and one of those, not Sinister Gates, it's Sinister Summit, Sinister Custom or whatever. We'll work on one of those today as well. So two other guitars to work on. So I'm going to put this one away. This one will be out in the week sometime, maybe Monday. It depends how I crack on today and if I do anything tomorrow. Back soon. Always a tricky job removing a nut on a Gibson. Now sometimes these can be buried like in a trough, but what I'm doing with this scalpel here right now is, because it is in a trough, I'm going to be cutting around the lacquer that is over the nut. So you have lacquer and paint above the nut, or over the edge of the nut. Now I've just got in there, and this will stop me taking a chunk of lacquer out when I remove the nut. Now it's slightly possible I may get this nut out easily, because I've just put the scalpel beneath the nut where I need to cut it. It's gone underneath the nut, but it will chip around this area. Now I've already told the owner of the guitar that it could chip around this. I'll be very, very careful. But if it does chip, it's just one of those things. But again, cutting around the knot, sorry you can't see. We could always fill in with a little bit of resin later on if I have to. And we are going to take the scalpel and we're just going to cut through the lacquer a few times. We're going to score through, because we may get this off and out clean. We're definitely cutting through lacquer. I have in the past knocked these out and taken a big chip of wood with it, and I really don't want to do that. All I'm going to do is ever so gently tap the nut from this side. We may just loosen it. But just loosen it enough to get it out. If not, I'm going to have to collapse it in on itself by sawing it down the middle this way, but I think we're going to get this out. Now what I'm going to do, if we get any chip in here, I will fill in later on with some epoxy resin and some stain to match it up. I think this is going to come out. Seems to be loose enough. What we really don't want to do, I'm praying in my mind right now, is we don't want to take any wood with this. So I'm just going to try and drift it out. And that, my friends, is out clean. And that has gone really, really well. Tiny little bit of damage on that far side. Can't see on the near side at the moment. Let me just zoom out. But there's a great weight off my shoulders. Now I'm going to show you how we support the guitar here. I'm in a vise, I'm in my guitar vise. I'm going to just remove that out of the way and you'll see I have a build-up of gubbins here. Just in case, for instance, I have a vise and the guitar drops down. But that is as good as I could have expected. There's a tiny little bit of tiny little bit of damage there, a little scratch in there. I will do my best to fill and buff that out, but the owner does know. I did say to him, look, this could happen, we could get a chip out of there, but that is it. The nut is out, it's out nice and clean. That wasn't too painful, was it? So I have a neck as straight as I can possibly get it. I've taped up the pickups, the F-holes, and this end of the guitar body, just so when I'm filing, I don't get any filings into the pickups or into the cavities or anything on the guitar. Now the neck, like I said, is not perfectly straight. You never get a neck perfectly straight. You're always going to get a slight bit of undulation along the length. You might get a tiny gap here and a tiny gap up here where it's touching the board there, touching the board there, touching the board there. So what you do is you take your very, very best average and you get the neck as straight as you possibly can, which I have done. It's still a tiny bit of relief along the length around this area, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to take my level. Your level is always the frets. It is not the wood, it is not the neck, it is actually the frets. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the fret rocker and we're going to mark up where the frets are high. I'll be using the purple marker for the high spots. I don't know how many I said were high before, but not that it matters. We need to recrown the lot anyway. I have had to give slightly more of a twist on the truss rod than I would like, because the neck is a little bit more warped than it ought to be, or it needs a little bit more adjustment on the truss rod nut, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So we have the high spots marked off. We'll just check again. Now when your guitar has got nibs like this has, your frets tend to be a little bit flatter. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to round these frets off just a little bit more. Put a bit more crown in them. 4 spots. 6, 7, 8. There's a whole fret there. Nine, 10, 11, 12, 12. So we have 12 high spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's check this area again because you normally get a second fret. And that looks quite fine, but we do have a little bit of roll off coming down this way with a bit of undulation in the neck. So we do have 12 high spots, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to level the lot in one go. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go across with a file. Precision straight edge file, diamond edge. I do believe this is a 150 grit or 300 grit, I'm not quite sure. It might be a 150. But what I'm going to do is straight across those frets with high spots. Until there's no longer any resistance, and that should now have that one smoothed off. Still a bit high there. And all I really need to do is follow the ink. But I can end up doing the whole board using this, and I'll finish off with a levelling beam, which is exactly what I'm going to do. The great thing about this file is it will remove a lot of material in a short space of time, like it has done. I'm going to brush away filings, brush the file. Great piece of kit. This is from Chris Allsop in England. Great piece of kit. It wasn't expensive. It's a great file. The only thing we're using a file is it will put deep scratches into the frets. So it just take a little bit more time removing them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check the frets again. You see how level they are, but we're not guaranteed they are level in a straight line across the whole length of the neck because I've used a file. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a levelling beam in a minute. This is feeling pretty good. Doesn't appear to be anything sticking right out. A little bit of extra height on that one there, so we'll attack that one again. not putting on too much downward pressure, just let the file do the work. And to make sure we get the frets level along the whole length of the neck, we're going to go with a levelling beam. We're going to mark up all of the frets in marker pen. And once all the tops are showing silver, we know the frets are level. Now if we've got any with colour left on, it means the frets either before where the colour shows or after where the colour shows is a high fret. So we're going to go again and mark up all of the frets. I'm going to level the lot in one fell swoop. Now the levelling beam I'm going to get out shortly from Crimson Guitars. It's precision straight edges. One side has 400 grit paper, one side has 240 grit. We're going to go across first with a 240. And once that shows that all the tops are silver, we're going to go across again. We're going to mark the frets up again. We're going to go across with the 400 grit. The 400 grit will get rid of the deep scratches. The 240 grit will first get rid of the deeper scratches from the file. And the 200, then the 400 grit will get rid of the deep scratches, which will be slightly deeper on the 240 grit, bringing them up relatively smooth. It'll make them a lot easier to polish later on. So the levelling is not a big job. Let's see where my levelling beam is. And there it is. Well, there it was. And there you go. It's Crimson Guitars, fabulous piece of kit. 400 grit on this edge, 240 grit on this edge. This has been on here a short while, but you will get a lot of levels out of that. Nice and smooth. And all we're going to do is, we're now going to do all of the frets. So we'll start in the middle, not particularly pressing down, just holding it in position. And when it comes to doing the radius, I will keep the file level in a straight line so it will overlap at this end because it's a thinner neck, and that's how you maintain the radius. So just starting in the middle, working slightly toward myself, back to the middle, and now working over to the far side. And I'm looking for a nice uniform line along the width of across the width of all of the frets. So going this way, I'm looking for the same width all the way across. We've got a little bit of ink still here, so it means we've got a high fret either side. So we're going to just keep working. Not pressing hard, very light touch. Let the file do the work. Still a little bit of ink here, so we do have one high fret either side. It's either going to be this one. Yep. So I'm going to mark this in green just so I know. And that's got extra height on there, which means we're leaving a little bit of ink in this area. I'm just going to check this side. So it is here. We'll take the file, and we're going to repeat the process until we get silver along the whole length. No green pen this time. And once we're level with the 240 grit, we'll finish off with a few strokes of the 400 grit. Delivery happening next door. Daily occurrence. I've never known anybody order so much stuff as our next door neighbours. They've only been here a year. They've he must have an average, I don't know, 10 parcels a week. Anyway, back to where we are, 240 grit. Just ignore the noises coming from next door. Let's just have a go on the level. I'm going to go for a 400 grit in a minute. Just see what the neck is telling us. What have I done with that first right here? Look. I'll really take my time in this area because this is where we had some high frets. Now looking pretty good. Still a high fret there. So again on fret 11. Still on the edge of fret 11. Concentrating the file just in this area. I'm going to resort to a more, not so much a more extreme measures, but I'm going to come in with a smoother file and I'm just going to spot level this one this way, because this is only removing material from that one fret rather than all of them until we are close to where we need to be, and that is it. So let's go again with a marker. I'm going to mark them all up in purple, and this time we're going to go with 400 grit, and we're going to keep going until the frets are all silver topped. Sometimes when you've got a stubborn fret, like number 11 was, and keep removing material, we'll just attack it with a single file and just attack it on its own. Else we're going to be removing too much material from a lot of frets and we're going to get a dip in the centre. We don't want that. Tools out of the way. Now with the 400 grit, we have still a tiny bit of ink just on this side. It means that fret is still high on this edge. And that will make all the difference. Again with the 240, just give it a brush. Finishing off with a 400, very light strokes. Everything's feeling nice and smooth, so that's telling me that the frets are now level because we're not getting any resistance anywhere. And that is it. And the tops of the frets are all silver. It means that we are level along the whole length of the neck. And we can move on to the next part of the job, which will be to recrown the frets. By recrown, what we've done is we've flattened the tops of the frets going this way. We need to rebuild that crown. To do so, we need to tape up the fingerboard and just leave the frets exposed. So that's going to take me a while. So we're going to get various widths of masking tape and we're going to mask the frets off. And we'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to recrown the frets. Welcome back guys, moving on to crowning the frets. By crowning I mean the frets are now flat on the tops because we've filed them all down. So they're flat that way, we need to rebuild that crown. And I have various files to do this, my favourite being this one. All my crowning files are diamond files. That means that they are flat surfaced and diamond encrusted. Fantastic pieces of kit. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cover the tops of the frets with marker pen. And trust me, these are flat. And we need to rebuild that crown. Now this file will do it more or less on its own. It's got, next to you, it's got a very long but shallow cut and a deeper short cut on the far side. Turn it 180 degrees, the exact opposite. The great thing about this Z file is we'll work it in two directions, but it will not touch the top of the fret. So because we have the frets all level, we don't want to remove anything from the top, just from the sides. So there you go, you just watch me work it, turn it 180 degrees. And there's a nice thin line right down the middle of that fret. And that line is the crown. Now I'm just looking for it over here. When I've used a file, we always clean the file before we use it again. And we go again. Now these frets are normally flat topped anyway, or flatter than normal. So I'm not going to have a super sharp crown, but that's it, that's that one done. Then we're going to finish off with a standard crowning file which has that crown built in, and this is just going to remove any inconsistencies from that file, round off any edges, and that's that one done. And we've still got a thin line down the centre, which means we've not removed any height, and we have that fret beautifully crowned. It doesn't take long with these files, it doesn't take long at all. I'm going to move on to the next one, and again, my favourite because it removes most of the material and it doesn't remove anything from the top. Great piece of kit. An expensive file when I bought it, £125 with import tax and shipping and what have you, but worth its weight. I actually have a couple of these in stock. I've got others ready to use when this one peters out and isn't no longer good enough, and I've had it, I think I've had it 2 years and it's still going strong. So there you go, that is two done. We are going to grab fret rocker just to show that we've not removed any height. And that is beautiful. So that's those two done. I'm going to crack on, get the rest of them done. I also have a different file. Again, this already has the crown built in, concave, but it is a diamond file, and this is this shape because this way I can work over the frets without digging into the body of the guitar. If I was just using this one, I'm not going to get the angle enough because the guitar body is going to be in the way. So we would, in this case, use this one. And look how good that works. So yeah, so that's the 3 files I'm using. Like I say, I'm going to crack on, I'm going to get them all done, and once it's done, I'll bring you back in and we'll move on to polishing. Right friends, I'm ready to move on to polishing my frets after levelling and recrowning. And polishing, I go with 7 different grits of sandpaper. Starting at 400 grit, this is a coarser paper, it's twice as thick as this other stuff. And this will remove the deeper of the scratches. And then I can get about polishing with the other 6 grits. So grits I'm going through are, start at 400, then we're going to be going, I'm going to separate these because I have them in a big thing. 600, 600, 800, 1000, we're just putting these in right order, 1200, 1500 and 2000. So they are my 6 polishing grits in the correct order, and with 400 to start off with. The reason I'm not showing the guitar on here is I'm going to be doing it on the bench behind me because I've got my iPad up there and I can watch and I don't want to move my iPad and have it in front of the window. Even though it's a beautiful morning this morning, we are the 1st of January, we're year of our Lord 2022. It is New Year's Day and all is very quiet. There you go. So I'm going to crack on, get the polishing done. I'll be polishing the frets along the length, and we use thicker coarse paper going to thinner because we're going to remove the scratches. We're not only going to remove the scratches, we're also going to bring the frets up to a nice shine. Once they are done, they will be glass-like, they will be superb, they'll look fantastic, and we're ready to move on to the next part of the job, which will be to cut and fit a new nut. So I'm going to crack on with the polishing. I will come back and show you the results whenever. It's going to take me a few hours, so I'll be back soon. Just coming to the end of polishing the frets. I've been through with 7 grits of paper, and I'm just finishing off polishing with ultra fine steel wool or super fine steel wool. This brings them up to a lovely shine. Some people say this is only equivalent to 600 grit. It's absolute humbug. I've gone right up to 2000 grit with the paper, and the frets, even though polished now and scratch free, still look pretty dull. But you finish off with some super fine steel wool like this. You don't need any compound on there, you don't need any kind of substance, you don't need to use a Dremel. Once you've gone through with 7 different grits of sandpaper, trust me, some super fine steel wool, and these are glass-like and pristine. They look absolutely wonderful. There you go, they just look absolutely stunning. So I can get rid of the glove now. And this is why we put that tape on as we do. Put a long strip down the side, or some strips down the side. Just helps us get this up. Now, even though it's a low tack look, it does stick quite a bit. When you're using this tape on older guitars, check the paint's not all flaky and whatever, because you'll take paint off sometimes. But here you go, and that's why we do that the way we do it. Look. Now once this is all off, I'm going to spray the fingerboard with some mineral oil, lemon oil as you know it, especially formulated for your darker fingerboard woods, i.e. Palfero, rosewood, ebony, whatever. But these frets now are absolutely stunning. They just look absolutely wonderful, better than new, beautifully round, and it is worth the time and effort. It does take a long time, for hours in a fret level and polish, but so worth it. Like I say, next part of the process is to treat the fingerboard. And there you go, look, that's all the tape off, look, that side. I'll also be removing this shortly. Again, taking my time. But yeah, you don't, I don't think you can quite appreciate from the distance you are away from the guitar, you can't appreciate how wonderful these frets are. And they won't really pop until I've treated the fingerboard with some mineral oil, but wow, stunning. absolutely wonderful. So we know the frets are now level, they're now recrowned and they're polished. I'm going to spray with some mineral oil. I've got some knocking about, see what's here. In an old spray bottle. What I'm going to do is stick my old glove on there so I don't get any oil where I don't want it to be. And we're just going to let me soak into the fingerboard. I'll give the fingerboard a scrape with a Stanley blade. Just get any crap off there, let this oil soak in and treat the wood. And I think now you can more or less see how wonderful these frets look, and that's plenty of oil on there, and that's just wonderful. It always can go in the bin now. I'm going to let that do its thing for 15 odd minutes before I wipe it off. I'll give a fingerboard a scrape with a Stanley blade just to remove any crap off there. I've got Stanley blades here, look. And we'll just start removing some crap. Then wipe it off, then I'll give it another coat. This is just removing any crap. See if I can get some on the blade for you. There you go. You can see it there, look at that horrible rubbish, all dead skin and what have you. And I'm going to crack on, get this all done off camera. I'll wipe this all off. Give it another coat of mineral oil. Let it dry off. So it's going to take me a while, more time. But like I say, there's a lot of things you don't see. And this is a time consuming job. But there's as much waiting about as there is working, so that's just the way it is. But I'll come back later, show you where we are, then we're going to move on. We're going to get a nut blank and we're going to go and cut and shape a new nut. So I've just cut, or rough cut, a nut blank from a larger blank. So this is just a tiny bit wider than it is to be than the neck, and it fits perfectly in the slot on the guitar. So I'm ready to final shape this. I'm going to shape the outside just with a file. I'll just get it roughly to where I need it. Then I'm going to glue it into the guitar, and I'm going to do all the final cutting in the guitar. I cut the blank on my little sander, bench sander here, which makes the job a lot easier. So we're ready to fit it to the guitar and get final shaping done. You're not going to see from where you are, but I like to shape a nut when it's on the guitar. This blank is already now glued in. It's positioned where I need it to be. And I've got it marked out on this side with black pen. Now you can't see it, so I've taken the liberty of, in fact I've taken a picture for you. And that's my view. That's what I can see from where I am. This is the neck side, that's the neck side of the nut. I've got a black line showing the shape I want to be. And I'm going to rough shape the nut using just a couple of files. I've got a nice, this is a fret leveling file, but it's quite coarse, so it'll remove a lot of material. Then I've got a smoothing file, my number 4 cut file, my Swiss file, which is fantastic. So I can shape. I'm going to slightly angle back anyway because I want it angling towards the headstock, but I can also work down to this black line, so I can see where I need to be. And this black line gives me plenty of room for adjustment. And I've gone about a slight angle, almost matching the headstock. So that's beautiful. And all I'm going to do is just file down to this line here. It's not going to take me too long, but it's something I'm going to do off camera. If I take too much off, I'll be replacing this nut. So I want to be very, very careful. Don't want to go beyond or below this line. Fingers with bone, it stinks when you file it. I can smell it now. But we're getting there with the shape. Just keep checking and checking, getting close, and that's brilliant. And all of my final filing I'll do with a finer file, and I may even sand it. But we're getting close to where I want to be, that's nice. It's a great idea to buy this guitar vise. Same as the Stumac one, half the price. Got it from a place in Europe. It was down as a pattern maker's vise, but it's not. It's a guitar workshop vise. It's more or less identical to the Stumac one, but this is green. The Stumac one's red. So there you go. We're getting closer now. When I get to the edges, just going to take a little bit more tape, just to protect the guitar. Just so I don't cut into anything I don't want to cut into, and I'll do this both sides. Just so everything's protected. And I will then come and just roll over. Just to roll that over nicely at the edge, and that is a beautiful shape. And to do the other side, I'm going to have to come over this side, get in where the camera, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to round this one over this side. And then I'm going to take my number 4 Swiss file. Number 4 got very smooth but very sharp, beautiful piece of kit. You've seen this many times before. I'm just going to because this will leave it really, really smooth. And now you see why I've got the tape on there. And also, when I get to that, I'm going to make sure I've got my safe side. This has got no cut on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to then roll over this edge closest to you. So what I'm going to do is follow the line round, and I'm going to roll over, and we're going to round that off as well. So we're rounding the back of the nut, and that's just going to take away any corners and any edge in there. Again, there's a bit more work needs to go in that, but you see now this edge here, where my thumbnail is now rolled over beautifully. Nice and smooth, there's no sharp edges on there. I've not touched this side yet, but you see how we're shaping the nut. Now we could probably go a bit lower with that, but I'm not going to go any lower until I've got the grooves cut in. Because I want to make sure I've got enough material on there for the strings. Because like I say, you mess this up, you cut in a new nut from a blank, you tap in this one out again. There's always a chance when you're removing a nut you're going to cause damage to the nut shelf. So you've seen how it works. Really, really nice. I need to round this corner off a little bit as well. Yeah, that is getting there. You get the idea. And that is looking beautiful. That's more or less where I need it to be. I've got this side to do, so I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get in front of the thing. I'm going to come and work this side as well. Once that's done, we'll come and look at getting some lines in there. Now when it comes to doing the lines on the nut, there's two ways I can do it. I can take the old nut and line up that way, or I can do what I normally do, and that is take a nut spacing rule, which I have. Again, another Stumac purchase. I didn't get it out prepared. This gubbin's here, and I'll find out where I need to be. Normally on the black one, so we've got, it's wide here, narrow there, and this gives you the perfect spacing you need. And normally if I'm going to go with a, I'll take a couple of marks. Yeah, there you go. These two black lines, one there and one there, is normally where I'm going to mark where the strings go, and it does them perfectly. So each centre is the same distance apart. You get slightly narrower as you get to this side. So I'll mark out where the strings need to be on there. So we're going from that black mark to this black mark, and in every spot in between. And that'll give us a width of around about 35mm, a string width, and that'll be absolutely fantastic. So that's how I'm going to do my spacing. And what I'll do is, once I've got the spacing right, I'll put a mark, and then I'll cut in with a really thin file. I'll cut a tiny groove just so we've got each centre marked off, and once that's done I'll come in with my nut slotting files and I'll slot this nut properly. So looking at that nut, that's looking beautiful. That's looking really, really nice. That's just about where it needs to be. So I'm going to crack on, I'm going to turn camera off, I'm going to crack on, get it finely shaped, get the string spaced, and I'll come back and show you how we cut each slot individually. A couple more things I need to do with this guitar. That is to mark on the nut where I need the strings to go, and I could use the old nut or I could use a proper tool for doing so. But before I do that, I need to sharpen this pencil because it is not sharp enough for what I want. So we're just gonna, I've already had it in a pencil sharpener, so I've got enough. It's not even lead anymore, is it? It's graphite. Got enough there, but it's not to a point. So I'm just going to try and get this to a point now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the string slots need to be. Now, there is a special rule for this, which I do own. I have somehow misplaced. It is not where it's supposed to be. And because I'm not prepared for this video, I'm just going to do the markings with, if it's not on this bench, which it is, there you go. So this piece of kit here, you are wider at this end, more narrow here, and what we're looking for is 2 outside marks, and then we'll just go with the 5 in between. So I'm going to look for the width I want. I will do that here and now. That looks pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blue one, no, it's too close. I'm going to go with these 2 black marks here and here. That seems to be pretty much where we need to be. I'm just going to check it with the old nut. And that looks to be pretty, that's exactly where I want to be. So I'm going to line up these 2 black marks on the guitar, and I'm going to mark these places with the pencil. And we're going to go 1 there. Now these spaces are different spacings, and that gives us the centre of each string. With the string width, it gives us a gap the same, so it's not exactly centre to centre. So slightly further apart here and get closer here. Now all I need to do is take an old style file. I stopped using these because I found the thinner strings cut a V rather than a semicircle. So I'll just use these just to mark where I want the string to go and where I start my cut. So I'm just lining those up like so. And once I've made a notch, that's where I'm going to make a string slot. And there you go. Each one of those is now ready to start. I can't really go wrong. And what I then do is I go and get my proper nut slotting files. These round ones, Hosco, great piece of kit here. And I'll get the set I need. I want a 1046 set. That's the string gauge we're going to be using. So I'll look for a 46. I normally separate them as a 46. It is a 46, and this will cut a perfect shape. All I need to do is get it onto the notch, get it central. Need to make that notch just a little bit bigger than that because it is slipping slightly. Find the notch I've cut, there you go. That's going to give me a good starter. And then take the proper file, and there you go. And that's cutting the correct slot for the correct string. Don't go too deep because you'll be fitting a new nut, but that is perfect. And it's in the right place, and I'm just going to slightly angle back toward the pins, towards the tuners, and there you go. So if I just come up and bring it ever so slightly, bring the nut But there you should see that that slot is cut beautifully. So I'm going to crack on, get them all cut. Once that's cut, I'll be placing these Graphtec saddles on the bridge. We'll get the bridge on, then we'll get some strings on, and we'll come and finish off the knot and get the nut slots cut to the correct depth. Right, we're just about finishing up on this guitar. I've got the saddles on the bridge. I've made sure I'm checking the spacing because some of these grooves are in different places and some grooves are fatter and thinner. So the thinner ones for the thin strings, fatter ones for the fat strings. Now they're not super fat, but what we need to do is make sure these spacers are right between each one because some of these are marked in a slightly different area. Now I happen to have a spacing rule for nut slots and for saddle slots right there, so I'm able to go fatter side there, thinner side here. And I'm able to just get, what you do is you're going to measure for 6 spacers. That's too much there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's almost right about there. And just check that we're pretty close to where we need to be. And that's pretty much bang on. So the spacing should just be about right there. So I'm going to bang a set of strings on, set of D'Addario XLs, 1046 set. We're just going to get this held in place. And we can look, if we need to carve these slots anymore, we will do. They are just little marks at the moment. I don't think we need to carve a big hecking V in there, as some do. I'm right to leave it as it is. As long as the strings don't slip, I'm going to be reasonably happy. So we're going to need part of the bridge. Stop toe please. Should be in the case. If it isn't, we're in trouble. I don't know where it is. Aluminium. Prefer to see steel in there, but hey ho. So okay. Because once this is in, we've got some strings on, we can look at cutting the nut slots properly. We're not going to clamp anything down at the moment. We're just going to make sure the string spacing is right first. We may have to move a couple of saddles about. We may have to carve into the tops. We'll see. Make sure we get a nice wrap, at least one wrap around the low E. You all know I'm a big fan of wraps around posts. These do not hold themselves in, there's no spring holding these in. Great thing is we've got really plenty of space on the nut there. I'm going to leave the tape on until we've got everything all set up. But you can see where we're at and what we're going to be doing here. I also noticed I've got a new tattoo. And just about healed up, big scab on the thumb still though. That way. Right, so we'll just get the 2 outside strings on. That means that the bridge is held down. Much trouble I just had trying to wrap that around. So again, this one wraps around posts. I love wraps around posts, so I'm going to go give this plenty. What I like to do is like put a full fold in the spring so it doesn't slip out. And there you go, that's folded all the way back. And then I can come over and just start getting some wraps in there. Keep pressing, pushing them down, keep going under and under. Get out of there. Under, under. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 good wraps around this one. Oh, none now because it's just fell off. Let me get that done off camera and I'll come back and show you where we are in a short while. Always the most exciting part when we're getting toward the end of a project. And I'm just going to put this rule away. Once I put this away, I'm going to come and sit down and show you where we are with the nut. So that's out of the way, that's out of the way. Okay, so I have various tools here at my disposal. What I've just done is I've put strings on the guitar. I've done it, set the intonation. So we have a saddle set in the correct place. Intonation on the 12th fret is in tune with the guitar. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the state of the neck, knowing all the strings are intonated correctly. We'll look at the neck, see where we are. We have just about the right amount of a relief there, as also my eye is telling me. So we're going to look at these nut slots. And I've heard it so many times where people say, should never measure, whatever you. Oh, sorry, that's not true. And I do measure. And I measure because sometimes I don't have the conditions might not be right for iron things, but iron things, it's always best to take a measurement anyway. So I do have a specific measure I like to use. And on the bass side, what I do is I set the string height at the 12th fret with the right amount of relief at 2 mil each side. Oh, it's not going to stay like that. We're going to bring it lower later. I'm only going to do it just so I want a little bit higher than it normally is, because I'm going to cut these nut slots down. And my measurements are from this side, from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string, 0.2 millimeters on the treble side, 0.3 millimeters on the bass side. So I've got the correct files. These are my Hosco set of nut slotting files. This is a 0.046, that equates to the 46 string. And we're going to be looking at 0.3 millimeters now. So 0.3 millimeters, top of the fret to bottom of the string. We've still got quite a bit spare there, so we're going to loosen. We'll take our file. Now remember, I already set these slots before, so you saw me start them off. I'm just going to, a couple of cuts, and I'm going to slightly angle it down toward the tuner. Only a little, not going mental. Blow away the extra, and there you go, that is now sitting beautifully in that nut slot. Still got my tuner pulled in. I need to get a better cable. This cable's too heavy duty for what I'm using it for right now. And feeler gauge, and just have a look. Still a little bit high, but only a tiny bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, with the file, and just a couple. 0.3 is a really good and conservative estimate, because we could go down to 0.2, so it just gives me plenty of leeway in case I do go a little bit too far. But there you go, that's going to be right. Let's have another measure. And that's perfect. Next one, we're going to be looking around about 0.25. Got plenty on there, so same thing again. What I'm going to do with this slot is we're getting a very, very, very slight buzz I heard there, so we're just going to go back in and just make sure that everything is clear and clean. If you're ever wondering where you get that sitar type sound, it's because the nut's not been cut right. That's clean. So that's good. So the next one, we're going to look at about 0.25. We're going to do the same again. File away. Next one. 0.036. These are fantastic. These are made by Hosco. It's an Hosco 11-piece set. I think it cost me around £125. These cut to the perfect U shape or semicircle shape, whereas older ones, the cheaper ones, tend to cut more of a V. But anyway, same again here. 0.036. Don't need to go too gung-ho. Long way to go there. Nowhere near deep enough yet. But keep checking back. And please don't go gung-ho. It's really a ball ache having to replace a nut you've already cut and shaped and fitted, because they're a nightmare to get out if they're super glued in like they are. Small cuts, keep going back, keep cutting, small increments until you get it right. Don't worry about it taking so long and go, oh, I get a couple of deep ones. You're going to regret it, I'll tell you that for nothing. Still plenty left on there. See, I'm not going mental though, just a few nice steady strokes. Just buzzing on 0.3, so let's drop down to 0.25. That's the one, I think. Yep, 0.025. Just give me a nice little buzz. Those two are perfect. Really happy with that. Next one, we're going to be looking at about 0.2. Sorry, not 0.2, about 0.25. Or 0.225 even. Let's stick a 0.25 in there. Slightly higher on this one, so we're about 0.27 here. Looking about 0.25 on this one. Now we've got a ways to go there, which is good news. File away. Really rewarding when you get this right. So we don't have an 0.26. The closest is 28.028. Slightly bigger. We always go slightly over if we don't have a right one. Now I'm going to look at this cut here, because these two tends to be a little bit too close together, these two, because I put them in at an angle. So that's cut that way, and that'll want to be cut that way. So we're just going to, again, we're going to flare open this slot. Then we're going to come back at an angle like that. And I'm working slow for you guys. I'd have had this done by now normally. A little bit more. Again, small cuts. Just buzzing, happy with that. This one is going to go a little bit less. This one just going to go a tiny sliver just to remove any buzz. Make sure we're just nice and smooth. Not really cutting, just making sure we've got a nice smooth slot there. Again, happy with that. So that being a 0.017, we don't have a 0.017, closest we have is 0.016. If we won't go over, the next one's a 24. So with the 0.16, I'm going to angle it. And just to flake that slot open a little. By that I mean, we're going to go in like so, but I'm also going to put it at an angle and try and widen it that way. Then angle this way and widen it that way. So now I've found with this 16, it is as sharp as a genius. So let's take us time with this one. Round about 0.225 would be good here. It's about 0.22, so Got a long way to go on that one, which is good news. Wrong file. Should I say wrong file? Absolutely, it is the wrong file. I thought it was too wide. Don't worry, I've got polish the top anyway, so. Again, at an angle, and at this angle. I will be removing these strings to recut the knot, but that's looking low enough. Still not quite low enough. Always good news that, always good news. Make sure we get the right file. Stick this one away, I didn't put this one in this packet, you see. Oh, that's definitely there. Happy with that one. Going to now drop down to 0.2 for these last two. You're going to do it slightly by eye because you're going 0.3, 0.27, 0.25, 0.23, 0.21, 0.2 or thereabouts. So you're going to do a little bit by eye. Let's get the 0.2 and see where we are. Long way to go with that one. And what I can do is, once this is all done, I can take the strings off, polish over the top of this nut, remove a little bit of material if I want to. I think we'll leave it as is. I do like the shape. It is cut from a bone blank, as you probably saw earlier in the video. So this one, let's have a measure again. These start to get a little bit flimsy when you get to here, so Stumac have bought out this fabulous holder, about 15 quid a piece. I've got my 10 in there. I'm going to get one for my 13 as well, and that means they'll be nice and stiff. I can use it like so with that on. So 13. Always nice and smooth. I can't emphasise enough, take your time. I've gone too deep and I've had to replace nuts. You don't want to be going that route, trust me. That one's there. So by looking at it, that's low enough. Very close, very almost too low on that one. Last one. And this, using the holder. A lot easier like that, but it's also a lot easier to cut too deep. A long way to go on this one. That's perfect. So that's fantastic. So we've got all the slots cut exactly how I want to. I'm just going to polish over the top of this nut shortly. So let's take some sandpaper because I put a groove in there. I can even do it with the strings on because I'm not going to take it into the groove. So that's beautiful. I'm happy with that nut the way it's cut. I am going to leave it like that. Now what we can do is we can check the height again at the 12th fret because I did cut it too high. I'm looking for 1.75 here, 1.5 there. So we're going to take this. Now it should have lowered because we've cut the nut slots at this end. So it's probably gone slightly lower down here. We are just over 1.75, which is exactly where I'm leaving it. And on this side we are at 0.15, which is exactly where I'm leaving it. So that guitar is done. The nut slots are cut. Because also I cut these a little bit deeper, it's dropped the strings down at the 12th fret. So once I have checked the tuning and the intonation again, I'm going to do it laying down for now. But I'll set it all again in the playing position later. A little bit flat on the A. A little bit flat on the A, so we just need to bring this saddle toward the neck. Just like I'll give it a one full turn, I think. That should have us right about there. The intonation is set right, so this guitar should be set up. I do need to stretch the strings in. Beautiful, that seems pretty nice. So just a couple of things to finish off now. Stretch the strings in, polish the top of a nut, get the truss rod cover on there. Once that's done, the guitar will be ready to rock and roll. So one more thing, just finish off sanding the top of the nut with some 400 grit. I did put a scratch in there earlier, you notice how I slipped the file. That's now gone completely. And we're just going to finish off. I'm not going to stain the top of this nut. But there you go, and that is now well sanded. What we need to do is make sure those slots are free. Got some compressed air. Just going to give a few sprays. Slots are now clear and free, and we can get the strings back on. Strings back in place, and I'll stretch them in again, tune the guitar in, and it will be done. Next time you see his guitar, we'll have it on the final part of the video. And message the owner and let him know he can come and collect his guitar. I've already messaged him, letting him know that it'll be done today. How to pay and what have you. But there you go, that is just about done. I'll be back in a few more minutes and we'll tie this video up. Beautiful. There we are, all done. Gibson ES-335 in a lovely red colour, quite common, this colour. That's probably because it looks fantastic. So let's recap what we've done. We have cut and bone nut blank, replace the old nylon nut. We replaced the nylon saddles with Graphtec saddles. We have levelled the frets, recrowned and polished the frets, and we have set the guitar up. And yeah, looks and plays beautifully. There is the brand new bone nut right there, superbly fitted, looks fantastic. Graphtec saddles on there, 35 quid they are, those Graphtec saddles. And yeah, a beautiful guitar, giving it a proper setup, nice lowish action, 1.75 on the top, 1.5mm on the bottom. I set the pickup heights, lovely bone nut in there. Little tiny bit of damage around the nut, happened when removing it, does happen. Something we can't always be avoided. It's just the way they glued right in and they sat in a recess. I did warn the owner of this beforehand. It is that tiny, you're hardly going to notice it. Still looks fantastic, certainly plays fantastic, the frets are wonderful. So yeah, full setup, condition the fingerboard and everything. And this should give him lots of pleasure for many, many years to come. But that one is done. I'm going to let him know he can come and collect it when he wants, and we're going to move on to the next one. So, as always, just before we go, I want to remind you of our website, fretfriend.co.uk. Even better, you get more information at Facebook, facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. That's facebook.com/NG17. But that is it. So, we're going to move on to the next one. Oh, I just need to tighten that a little bit. I'm going to move on to the next one, so I will see you next time. So as always, God bless you, be good to each other, and I will see you in the next one.